edition.
Chair, are you still there? Chair?
Sorry, I must have dropped off. I guess for those of us who are online most of the time in court, we occasionally experience these hiccups, but it never stops us from doing what we have to do. So yeah, as I was saying, we just want to take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this webinar. This webinar should mark the first activities towards raising awareness for this year's legal award. We hope that we should be able to host it towards the end of November, but you'll be watching out for more details as to the entry criteria, the evaluation, which would be shared out once the calendar is ready for rollout, which should be within the next few weeks. I think today we are also going to be examining a very pertinent topic, an issue that really came to the fore with the onset of COVID, and everyone was worried about mental health. But it's been a subject that has been subterranean for quite a while, because it's not just COVID that brings about the question of our mental well-being. We ordinarily live in a very high pressure environment as advocates. We have high expectations. We face high expectations from our clients, from our family, from our friends. The work itself is extremely demanding, very high demands in terms of time and effort and resources. And all that combined can create a high pressure environment that then easily affects our mental well-being. And so it is important to listen to those who have been there before, to just gain from their experiences in terms of how they have handled this issue. And I know that one of our speaker is a real champion on matters mental health. And I think that we have a very diverse panel that should be able to give justice to this presentation. So once again, we thank especially all those who have joined us, because the advocates have given us a lot of support during very extremely difficult times that we've been in office. And it is because of your support that we have managed to come this far. And we are hoping that with your continued support, we will continue to intervene on the various aspects that are causing us difficulties in our practice environment, and that together we can improve practice within Nairobi. And with that, I hand it over back to the Vice, and look forward to very, very exciting presentations from our speakers. Asante.
Thank you, Chairman Theory, for those remarks. I think I forgot to introduce myself at the beginning. My name is Helen Namisi, and as you've heard from the chair, I am the Vice Chair of the LSK Nairobi branch. So once again, karibuni to all those who are joining us now. We are very excited that so far we have 60 participants. 61 and counting. Asanteni for making time today. So we have 4 very interesting speakers this afternoon, and they're going to make their presentations for about 15 minutes each, after which we shall open up the plenary for questions. But in the meantime, please feel free to use the chat section to ask any questions that you may have in case they will skip your mind later. You can write them there, and during the plenary, we shall go through the questions and direct them to the right speaker to answer. So we have the pleasure and honor of hosting Senior Counsel John Chigiti. We have Honorable Sylvia Kasanga, we have Eunice Lumallas, and we have Johnson Kariuki. So first we're going to hear from Senior Counsel John Chigiti. And before I invite him to present, I'm going to give you just a little information about him. Senior Counsel was nominated for the 2020 Lawyer of the Year Award, along with other candidates. And all of these nominees were chosen via very stringent preliminary rounds of assessment, which are based on a variety of overall evaluation criteria. Notwithstanding this criteria and the outstanding achievement of all the other finalists, Mr. Chigiti, Senior Counsel, was named the first runner-up Lawyer of the Year 2020. As you heard our chair, this is the run-up towards the Nairobi Legal Awards ceremony in November this year. So this afternoon, you have the pleasure of listening to the first runner-up of the Lawyer of the Year Award last year. Thank you. Karibu Bwana John Chigiti, Senior Counsel.
Thank you very much, Chair Mr. Theory. Thank you very much, Deputy Chair Ms. Helen Namisi. Good afternoon, good morning, fellow Kenyans and colleagues, members of the bar, wherever you are. I am honored to speak to the subject that is before us today. By the nature of our work as advocates, we interact with a lot of dynamics, social, economic related. We interact with clients who come in all forms of diversities. Clients who have huge expectations. Many of those clients pay us fees. And because of the nature of our services, we are supposed to deliver quality. The clients do not know anything less. By the nature of our work, we are guided by our clock. Time becomes a big nightmare when we have to squeeze in all that we have to squeeze in that clock so as to serve our clients, so to give them quality. So we have to, first of all, be time managers as lawyers. When we are dealing with the work, we at times have to balance between the quantity and the choice and the type of work we want to embrace to the highest extent possible. Many a times we are failing because we don't deliver the results as expected. So basically the nature of our work is that way, very dynamic, forever emerging, forever changing, but it's upon you as counsel to know how to plan, how to manage that space so that you generate quality. No doubt, you will agree with me, it's not an easy space. You will agree with me that all these conversations that speak to the nature of work have an impact on our health. So that if we are not able to manage that space, which is the nature of our work, we end up getting into trouble spots. We start drifting into the dark space. We start doing our dark trip south. That is when you start hearing somebody talking of burnout. You start hearing somebody's overworking. They can no longer manage their desk. They can no longer manage their work. Disorganization. backlogs become very common, and entries that they have to deal with. Fear, confusion. So those are entries that start becoming entries that make the nature of the work to be different from what it was expected of you. And that is when you start compromising the quality of the services. We have to be empowered. We have to know how to look out for the indicators, the key signals, the bulb that goes on, the negative indicator that must tell you things are not right. Many a times we just want to work and work and work, sleep with work, go home with the work, leave office late, come very early in the morning. Ultimately, you find yourself now hitting that burnout space that I've just mentioned without even knowing. So we are called as professionals to listen to our bodies, to listen to ourselves and ask ourselves, what are those indicators? Key amongst them will be when you start delaying results, when you start delaying what you're supposed to have done for your clients. Other than delaying results, you start seeing situations of no results at all. That's a bad indicator. You have been paid, you've been engaged, the client is expecting, but you have no results for them. Another indicator will tell you that indeed the quality of the work that you're generating, the standards of what you're generating is not right. You're losing all your cases. You're losing all your arguments. You're not able to persuade any mediation. You're not able to deliver any quality that was expected of you by the nature of your engagement with your client. Frustration. Read the signs. You know your body. You know your temperament. Ask yourself, am I feeling frustrated? Irritability. When you start feeling that coming through, coming your way, tell yourself, I am going south. Stagnation. You don't want to do anything. You are zero grazing with no results, stuck in one space, digging a pit. There is a problem. You are moving into what we call the troubled chamber. You start losing your professional qualities. You become absent-minded. Many a times you are finding yourself on autopilot, just coasting away like a parachute. You hit system failure. So, like we say in the electronic world, you start drifting into the default setting chamber mode. You are in a state where even communication is not working. You start losing your integrity. And many a times, finding yourself in a situation, you start losing touch. You withdraw from your peers. You don't want to interact with people. Clearly, that's the moment when you start losing clients. That translates to your table. There is no food. There is no bread on the table. Remember, you're a professional. Naturally, what flows from there, you start eating your clients' money. Because you're so torn apart, you have no footing. You're losing everything. You find yourself at a disciplinary tribunal. Within no time, you have no practicing certificate. And the cycle goes on and on and on. You lose your dignity. Depression becomes your best friend. You lose it. Your health gets lost. Ultimately, what are we saying? You must first interrogate and understand yourself. You must understand the nature of your work in order to be productive. You must remember that your health is what comes first. So what are we generating as proposals in order to maintain that balance, in order to enjoy that sanity? My proposal is take a lot of rest. You cannot finish the work. Do a lot of self-care. Think about gym, think about jogging, think about taking walks, especially these times of COVID. Over and above that, join clubs where you grow intellectually, like the Rotary Club. Join clubs which you can afford, where you'll meet your peers, where you'll clean up your system, sing some songs, play some music, and then set goals which you can achieve. Do not be overambitious. Do not be pushed by peer operations. Be yourself, set goals which you can achieve. Manage your time well, be a good planner. And then finally, always seek help from family, from your peers, and ultimately, if it's not working, seek help from the professionals. We need you in a healthy form, not in a crushed system. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I hand it back to the moderator. That marks the closure of my presentation.
Thank you very much, Senior Counsel. Well, you heard it from him. Balancing the various demands on your time, listening to your body and watching out for the indicators that show burnout, and that your health comes first. Very, very important for us to all remember that. Thank you, Senior Counsel. And now I'd like to invite our second speaker, who is Honorable Sylvia Kasanga. Just a little about Mheshimiwa. She's the nominated Member of Parliament in the Kenya Senate, the Vice Chairperson of the Senate Committee on Roads and Transportation. She's also a member of the Kenyan SDG Caucus, a member of the Lands, Environment and Natural Resources and the Powers and Privileges Senate Committees. She's also actively engaged outside Senate and regularly uses her voice and influence to reduce the stigma that surrounds mental health in many countries. Mheshimiwa introduced the Mental Health Amendment Bill 2018, and this bill introduces a framework proposal for a holistic approach to mental health, tackling mental illness prevention, reducing the impact of mental illness, facilitating recovery and reinsertion, and safeguarding the rights of people suffering from mental illness. You will agree with me that this is just the perfect speaker this afternoon. So karibu Mheshimiwa, I hand it to you.
Thank you so much for this platform. And I must apologize that I'm taking this in the car, but I really didn't want to miss it. And I have to continue juggling the activities that I have to do as part of my duties. I want to appreciate the fact that you have brought this conversation to the young lawyers. I don't know if in my introduction you have mentioned that I'm actually an architect by profession. That is my professional background. I'm an architect and an arbitrator. And even in the architectural field, we encounter a lot of stress through our schooling period and as well as in the workplace. So this is a conversation that I've had with my fellow architects. And in fact, I did a presentation that I shared with them and I shall share with this platform. I will email it later to the Secretariat and that you can share with all the participants, that at least then they can begin to understand and comprehend these issues. And in my advocacy work, which started in 2017, I've used the hashtag that the more we continue to understand and demystify mental health, the more we realize that we are easily victims by the nature of the work that we do, or by the nature of where we go home, your backgrounds, which are our safe havens, and just in our regular interactions as people. You come to realize very easily that if you're not mentally well, you may also not be physically well. Sometimes our mental health can manifest negatively on our physical self to mitigate any issues with our mental health. And also with time, you come to understand the length and breadth of mental illnesses. And for a long time, the stigma around mental health has suggested that you're only mentally ill if you are that person to the point where we know that anxiety and stress is also a kind of mental illness, as well as disorders such as eating disorders, sleep disorders, sexual disorders. All those are categorized as well as mental illnesses. And when you know the length and breadth of mental illnesses, then you know a lot of us are suffering. A lot of us are suffering. And when this question was brought to me in Senate, it was actually brought by young people from Makueni back in 2017. And they were very concerned about their own fellow young people who are really suffering from use and abuse of drugs along the Mombasa highway. And they said to me, what are we going to do about these youths? And actually the question of mental health came up because once you have abused drugs, then of course you will suffer mental illnesses. But in my research work and with all the conversations that I had with several specialists, I came to learn that mental illness, of course, is as broad as I've mentioned before, and that it is a matter for all of us to take action. And the biggest way to deal with our mental illnesses and to come to appreciate them is to fight the stigma that surrounds it. And therefore, conversations like these, I truly celebrate them. And I'm always out for champions. So I am hoping that at the end of today's presentations, all of them, you all become champions of mental health, that you speak about it at home, you speak about it at the workplace, you speak about it with your friends, wherever you are, that we raise more awareness that even if you're mentally unwell, you can actually seek medication. It's just an illness like any other. And seeking treatment should not be a cause for you to hide. And if at all, we should reach out to each other so that the more, we reach out to each other so that we can help each other seek help. And maybe one of the things I want to highlight to yourselves here as lawyers, of course, is to understand the strides that Parliament has taken when it comes to the question of mental health. I will be referring to some of my notes, so don't mind if I'm reading out a few things. The Kenya Mental Health Policy 2015 to 2030 indicates that mental disorder cases have risen exponentially in Kenya, and it's good to appreciate these statistics. 20 to 25% of outpatients seeking primary health care present symptoms of mental illnesses. And you see, these symptoms could be anything just from simple stress and anxiety. A 2015 performance audit report from the Office of the Auditor General, it paints a big grim picture around mental health. The report stated that while it is expected that a psychiatrist should serve 30,000 citizens, currently the psychiatrists we have, one will serve a population of 500,000 citizens. So we are doing poorly when it comes to our mental health practitioners, although we understand psychiatrists are not the only ones. We have a whole, length and breadth of practitioners who, we have to bring to the fore for Kenyans to understand that you can seek help from all these other practitioners. And it's good to know that only 0.05% of the national health budget goes to mental health. And this one mainly goes to support operational costs for, say, Mathare and the other main psychiatric units that are present. And you can see this is really not a budget to talk of. Other jurisdictions will have a budget of up to 4%. And this is why advocacy is important. This is why we really, really need to speak more about this as we wait for government to put in the infrastructure that is required. In 2016, there were 99,840 outpatient hospital visits for mental disorders, and we've seen an 8% increase of that number. And these are just the ones that are truly reported. So you can imagine how bad it is. And there is a psychiatrist, Dr. Lukoya Atwoli. I'm sure you've heard his name around. Now there's been more conversation around it. Dr. Atwoli says at the moment, about 15% Kenyans suffer from common mental health disorders, such as depression and anxiety. That is about 6 million Kenyans. And of course, the World Health Organization is the one that in its report about Kenya says 1 in 4 people in Kenya are likely to suffer from mental health disorder or illness. And Kenya is ranked 6th with the highest number of depression cases. That is 1.9 among African countries. So you can see those statistics coming from various sources. It tells you we have a lot of work to do as a society. Now, for your interest as lawyers, when it comes to legislation around mental health, we've been doing very, very poorly until I came into the picture. Currently, we have, at independence, we started with the English Mental Health Act of 1959, which was retained up to 1963 after independence. Then we have the Mental Health Law Act number 10 of 1989. Okay, this one is the one that replaced the English Act of 1959. And this particular act was commenced in 1991 and it was reviewed in 2012. And since then, there's been nothing else on mental health. Come Constitution 2010, Article 43 is very clear that every person has a right to the highest attainable standard of health. And we have the Health Act 2017 that puts it clearly that Parliament is to get a legislative, is to put in order the legislation for mental health. And therein comes the gap. The Kenya Health Policy 2014 to 2030 has been launched, had been launched and is working and has been reviewed. And then we have the Mental Health Bill that was done in 2014 by Honorable Lekuton that only managed to do up to first reading. So currently, the conversation on legislation when it comes to mental health is by the Mental Health Amendment Bill of 2020. It started in 2018. And because of the sibling rivalry between National Assembly and Senate, it had to be republished in 2020. It is currently in the floor of the House. I'm supposed to be moving the third reading, Committee of the Whole amendments by the committee, and then it shall proceed to the National Assembly. And really the highlight of this is just to promote mental health care with a lot of dignity, to integrate mental health care alongside with our healthcare facility. In this way, we shall fight stigma such that we are not just saying we build mental health institutions. No, we are saying, let us expand our healthcare to incorporate mental health care as well. And this bill is also looking to help with access for mental health care. So again, insurance and things like NHIF, universal healthcare cover, are supposed to cover both inpatient and outpatient for mental health, as well as rehabilitation and reintegration into the society for any cases that had been under any form of rehabilitation. Ability to make a decision. There are some vulnerable, people who are mentally ill become very vulnerable when it comes to questions of making decisions or access to medical files, or being able to be assisted in decision making and things like that. And this bill covers all the rights that are associated with anyone who's mentally ill, and it also provides frameworks upon which we have supporters and guardians to come and help anyone who's mentally ill, and especially the severe ones. It also goes as far and as deep as giving a legislative framework when it comes to admission, either emergency admissions and the likes. So it's good for you lawyers, young lawyers, to understand that there's this bill. It's a bill that has been that is very comprehensive, covering all aspects mental health, and bringing it into the current dispensation where we have the national government that then rolls out the policy, and we have the county governments that are actually the ones who are supposed to roll out most of this bill in terms of the roles and responsibilities, because health is a devolved system. But beyond that, it calls for, of course, the budgets to be increased. And I think our advocacy work has come to the point where for the first time, we are actually seeing standing budgets for mental health in our current budget, in this budget cycle, 2021 to 2022. 2020 to 2021. 2021 to 2022 budget cycle. And that is really a big deal. Mathare is going to be rehabilitated in this budget cycle. They have put aside money for that. And in fact, we are calling for a whole new facility where they've gone ahead to secure some land where they're going to build a whole new facility. And remember, Mathare, although with all the stigma associated with it, still the residents of some of the best psychiatric and mental wellness practitioners in the region, as well as research, and is also the residence for the prisoners who are mentally unwell. So it's a facility that is unique to the region, and it needs to be celebrated. And we are hoping that as they build a new facility, it will be a modern facility. It will be up to speed with all the dignity that should be accorded to our mentally ill patients. And also it will be large enough to cater for outpatient and training as well, and help to fight the stigma. So those are some of the things that you should know about where we are at in terms of legislation. And in terms of policy, the government has actually recently just rolled out an action plan for mental health. And I was very proud that the action plan is reading a lot from the bill already, where the government has also come on board when it comes to the bill. And as you are aware, the government did a lot of work with the mental health task force. The task force report was launched early in the year, and it calls for a lot of significant paradigm shift towards how government and even the society understands mental health. And it's a report that I would request every Kenyan to read. If you can read, it's a report you have to read, because it greatly highlights the social determinants of mental health. And those are things that you should know, that the environment around you in many ways will determine and affect your mental wellness. In the built environment, we talk about, things which we consider like simple things. When you consider what a pedestrian goes through in Nairobi in the morning, by the time they get to the workplace, you imagine the stress levels of that pedestrian, because you have probably not enough walk paths. You are at risk every day of being hit. Many do get hit and they die. So you can imagine the impact that has on their relatives. And that is just one aspect. The environment in which we exist in has a very huge component to our mental wellness. And that is why, even from the first presenter, when he's talking about finding means and ways in which you can relieve your stress, even a walk in the park has a big impact on your mental wellness. Connection with nature has a big impact on your mental wellness. So I would encourage you young lawyers to please get a hold of the mental health report. I have highlighted it in my pages. If you follow me on Facebook, you'll find it there. And you'll find many other conversations we've had about how to keep your mental wellness in check, because there's no health without mental health. And for you, your output is largely dependent on your mental wellness, as of course the first presenter has highlighted. And in my presentations previously, I have, and I really don't want to repeat too much already what has been said, but there's so many things. There's so many critical areas when you're at work, if not properly managed, will lead to your poor mental health and even can lead to your poor physical health. And this is, of course, stress, workloads, work patterns in the work environment, just the general demand of your workplace. How much control do you have over your work and the likes? How much support in the workplace do you have, or do you give to your fellow workers? What kind of relationships are you creating within the workplace, both to your seniors and to the people who are working below you? Are your roles well defined at work? If they're not, conflicting roles can lead to a lot of stress. And then change, organizational change. And especially now at the time of COVID, we are all experiencing a lot of change in the workplace. How are we managing this kind of pressure that comes with change? Because that has a direct impact to your output and to your mental wellness. And it's always good to know that the young people and the retiring employees, young employees and retiring employees are always the most vulnerable when it comes to mental wellness. Young because they're settling into a new environment, they're learning how to work and to have their lives. They're trying to also shape their lives with their first jobs and things like that. And for retiring employees is the reality that you no longer have that daily check that comes every month. And now, depending on how well you've organized yourself, it will determine how the rest of your retirement period is going to be like. So you can see why they become the vulnerable group. And therefore, they need a lot of support from the society, as well as a lot of planning that needs to go into place for both the young and the retiring ones. And then I've always called out that companies should, of course, develop these to help these strategies. Companies should come up with strategies for young people as they join the workplace, and for people as they work, so that they can plan a good retirement as they go. And this largely helps in building a better and healthier, mentally healthier society, which is really good for all of us. So I want to wind up there and to say that I'm going to share the presentations that I've had before, and I'm really going to call out for us to remember that there's no health without there's no health without mental health. You must look out for your mental health first, and you must make it a priority in your everyday routine. Once you wake up in the morning, remember your mental wellness. Give thanks to God and be grateful for the things that you have. Have the attitude of gratitude. It always goes a long way in stabilizing your mental wellness, and formulate these routines even at work that support your mental wellness. Have the right relationships at work and outside work. And then let us work together as being mental health champions. Please join the conversation on creating awareness and raising awareness on mental health, so that we can together fight the stigma, reduce the stigma, and have a healthier population, because it all works out for all of us. And of course, lastly, is like the workplace must promote mental wellness through motivation of staff, through having these team building activities that help promote work, through having these conversations that help people open up, and if possible, provide some psychosocial support to all our workers. I want to thank you again for giving me this opportunity to speak to young lawyers and to encourage you all. Let us have a mentally well society by reaching out to each other. So thank you so much, and God bless you.
Wow, asante mheshimiwa. So there's no health without mental health. You heard it from her. Amazing statistics. They're actually startling. The number of individuals we have with mental illness is quite disturbing, but we are also informed and enlightened that there are various initiatives by the government. As Mheshimiwa has said, please get your hands on the bill, go through it, look at the policy, and let's engage in this process as well, because we know that this is for all of us. If it's not for you personally, then it's for someone you know, or it's for a relative or someone very dear to you. So let's engage in this process. And as she said, the environment around you will affect your mental well-being. Thank you very much, Honorable Kasanga. And now I'd like to invite our third speaker. Our third speaker is Eunice Lumallas, and a little bit about her. Eunice Lumallas, along with other candidates, was nominated for Lawyer of the Year in 2018. Ms. Lumallas has proven devotion to the advancement of quality in legal practice over a long period of time, and she continues to do so. She was then able to win this award with her exceptional efforts in that year and received the award. So, as I said at the beginning, we have 4 amazing speakers today. We have heard from 2 amazing speakers. We have the third one. Before I invite Ms. Eunice Lumallas, just to remind those who are joining us, Karibuni, please use the chat section for any questions that you may have, because after the next 2 presentations, we're going to open up the plenary for questions. So you may jot down your question in the chat section, and we will direct the question to the right speaker. With that, I want to invite Ms. Eunice Lumallas.
Sorry, good afternoon. I want to thank you, Helen, for the very good introduction, and I've really enjoyed listening to the speakers before me. And I particularly love the choice of discussion we have today, lawyers and mental health, chasing excellence. These are very important discussions. And as I start, I have to really just focus also on the legal profession. And let's be frank and sincere to those who are not lawyers in this webinar. Our architect friends like Sylvia, being an architect is a well-respected skill and art and profession. But to be frank, lawyers are well-respected in the profession worldwide. Our word, and I think that's one of the things, the word of a lawyer is like the law. People respect you because of how honorable your word is. We are called learned, and we must not take these words for granted. We are properly schooled, we are learned because we are able to get into any situation, understand it, and deliver on it. And that's where we are that way. And as you start the journey of a young professional, if you are someone like me who started out maybe at the age of 13, I already felt I needed to be a lawyer in future. And that was only from watching 1 or 2 TV stations. Some of the programs, I guess the very young lawyers may not know what they were, but you looked and you watched and you're like, wow, lawyers are dressing well. That's a very impressive profession. They are doing a good job of rescuing those who need to be rescuing, defending the very wretched in the society. That's a noble profession. And yes, being a lawyer is a noble thing. And I've experienced, and I thank God for allowing me to experience the beauty of being an advocate. I'm very proud to be a lawyer. As you set out, and as I did, you realize that there is a dichotomy between the images that you sometimes see of the glitz and glamour in some of the lawyers that are really out there, moneyed, the cars and the glitz, all that, with the reality, because it just doesn't happen in one day. For example, we started out at the law firm where we were paid 10,000 at the time every month. We were expected to be at work every day, including Sunday. Sometimes we had to work. There was no working virtually like the way we are doing now. And that was it. So when you start out, and that is the kind of pressure you have to deal with. And the legal profession has its own exigencies, you know. The uniqueness of our profession is that it's high pressure. I was watching a documentary about mental illness among lawyers in Australia, and it said that among the very high pressure professionals who have high mental issues is a legal profession, and most of them don't seek assistance. Why? That's because of the nature of our profession. The nature of our profession is it's adversarial. If you're a trial lawyer like I am, and I enjoy being that way, if someone knows that, for example, Eunice has mental illness, and that's why we have to fight the stigma, then I feel they can use that against me in court or elsewhere. They'll start stigmatizing me and probably say, you know, Eunice is not well, so they can use that against me. But that's what I'm very impressed about this discussion, because we need to break the stigma. Our profession is very highly, it has high pressure. Our profession is very demanding. We have demands on clients, demands on ourselves. And as we chase excellence, as we've been told, we realize it's a lifelong venture. And one of the things that will really help you, according to my own experience, is you must love what you do. You know, if you are in this changing environment that we have, and everything is difficult. Waking up, going to work is difficult. Attending court is a difficult chore. Dealing with paperwork is difficult. Dealing with your colleagues, the relationship between you and your seniors is a problem. You have not taken time to properly have a network around you that can support you professionally, that can support you even at the workplace, then that's likely to take you to a difficult place. We have some outstanding mental health champions in the legal profession. Allow me to mention maybe one or two who have come out and say, yes, we have bipolar, one of whom is our senior, and I think he has come out about it, and that's senior John Chigiti, and he's receiving a lot of support with that, and that's very encouraging because a lot of us self-diagnose, you know, we realize we have too much pressure, but we cannot down our issues in a drink or two. And let's be frank and sincere, one of the greatest issues with lawyers is, one of the greatest issues is the whole issue of alcoholism. I had a client whom I had referred to an advocate in Kakamega. And when he went there, he told me, Eunice, I'm sorry, but there seems to be a problem. A lot of the lawyers who are where I am are smelling of alcohol in the morning. And it's good to have this forum, not to judge each other, but to realize that sometimes we do that as a way of coping. And perhaps that's not what we need to do. There ought to be ways in which we can realize I'm taking up too much stress. I need to be able to forge a balance. I'm a wife, I am a mother, I am an employee. How do I build proper networks around me that will allow me to fully express myself? Not all of us can be lawyers who go to court. One of the things you must be able to do is find your niche. Your niche may be in conveyancing. Your niche may be in intellectual property. Build that niche. You see, someone like me, I was lucky to find that I have my passion in alternative dispute resolution, and I have my passion in trial advocacy. And so growing in that area is natural. And you can feel that whatever comes your way, and there are days you feel so down, and there are days you've lost a case, and because, not because of probably the case, because you know, our profession is what it is. Sometimes you realize there are forces against you, whether it's the judge or whatever reason, you need to pick yourself up. And other times you have no one to speak to. There are times when I was starting out in practice, I had a very small circle of people I could call and say, hey, I really need to talk to you. I'm going through this difficult situation with this judge, with this matter. We have to find those networks. I'm glad right now I have people I can call, sit down and debrief, because a lot of things we take up, particularly those who practice family matters, you have people coming to load you with their personal issues. You know, it's always sometimes negative, and you carry all that in. Pessimism can easily enter into your space. How do you debrief? Lawyers need to debrief, particularly in the family law space. You take up so much. If you don't deliberately decide, I am going to take this time to go for golf and play a bit. I'm going to take this time to go and walk at Karura. I'm going to take this time to cycle, or just go for a ride and be by myself at the mountains and reflect and recharge and come back to the office on Monday energized. Then there's going to be a problem in your life. You won't be balanced. So you must ensure that you build a proper network. You deliberately set aside time to grow yourself, and you have to find your niche and enjoy what it is you're doing, and realize that this whole question of chasing excellence is like building a diamond. You know, if you want to be excellent, you must remember how diamonds are created. And diamonds are created from the very darkest parts of the earth. You know, it's not just on the ground. It's a very dark place, and they need extreme pressure to become refined. So you must see that you're like a diamond, because there will be pressure for you to make it. Do you want to be like our senior counsel Chigiti say, you want to feel the pressure to be like your fellow colleague who you feel is doing better than you and end up eating the client's funds? Or do you want to feel that pressure to be like someone else whom you admire and end up taking too much, that more than you can chew, and then end up disappointing your clients and losing your reputation? That's not what you want to do. You want to grow a reputation about and around yourself that is admirable. And you want to do that in a piecemeal way, in such a manner. I see it like the way diamond is made. You know, there's a lot of pressure, but you're being refined. At the end of the day, you get a good product as a result of the processes you've gone through. So I think it's step by step. Don't feel the pressure of looking around you and wanting to be like your fellow. Each of us has our own unique journeys, and you must love what you're doing and enjoy your journey, irrespective of the pressure. Always find a way of picking yourself up, and having a team of people you can trust around you, a team of seniors you can go to in case you need guidance. Reach out. We all don't know everything, and we can always reach out if you have a situation you don't know. Let someone else help you bear that burden. There's nothing like reinventing the wheel. Let's walk this journey together, and it's possible to have an excellent name around you, to build a strong reputation as an advocate, and enjoy the journey and be excellent. So I think I would like to stop there, and we look forward to how this webinar is going to be directed after that, Helen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Council. So as she said, as the Eunice Lumallas has said, love what you do, find your niche, be a diamond in your own space. And we each have our own journeys. Do not compare yours to that of another one. Thank you very much for that thought-provoking presentation. Now we have, last but not least, Johnson Kariuki. Johnson Kariuki happens to be the youngest in our panelists today. And he was nominated for the Young Lawyer of the Year in 2019, amongst other candidates. This prize is typically one of the greatest awards in the awards, the Nairobi Legal Awards, and it honors young advocates in the legal arena whose exceptional impact. Johnson took first place in this category, despite being a relative newcomer to the industry. And so we have the honor and pleasure of listening to Johnson and his experiences. Karibu, Johnson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. Thank you very much for this invitation. As you've heard, my name is Johnson Kariuki. I was honored with the award of Young Lawyer of the Year 2019. I'm going to take you through some discussions. One, on what is required of you. I know some of you are preparing to apply for the November chapter of that award. I will try speak about some of the things that I had done in the various categories that made it easier for the panelists to come on board and give me this award. And then I will end by speaking about what the award means to me and obviously what it will mean to the person who gets it next. We'll start, and I will start with eligibility. So who qualifies to apply, or sorry, to be nominated for the award of Young Lawyer of the Year? You have to be young, 30 and below. At least that's what I was intimated to be. Other than that, there is no other criteria. So let's look at what is tested, or what the panel is going to look at. And the first one, which is the easiest, is your academic qualifications and professional competence. Luckily, they do not ask you to provide your transcripts or any other paperwork. I don't know if they did in the most recent one, but that's the easy part, because you need not do anything that is not done already. The second aspect that they test is leadership skills and mentorship. And I like, when I'm talking about these issues, I like to demystify them, because people think to be a mentor, you have to appear on TV or to make a presentation to LSK. But it really, mentorship takes a lot of forms. You can be interviewing people and writing their stories. You can have an occasional meeting of friends or juniors. I remember when we were in KSL, there are some guys who used to come on Saturday or Sunday, who were young lawyers practicing at the time, and they would come and give the students who would make time some insights on the practical aspects of what we were learning in school. That is mentorship as well. So you need to look at how you're applying yourself towards helping the people who are below you to become better lawyers. Personally, I had done several mentorship programs. The first one was while I was still in campus. We used to go to high schools and talk to people about picking their careers, where we would take people in all fields of practice, whether they were doctors, architects, and all those people. And there was always something to learn for each and everyone who attended those sessions. And then I was running at the time a website where I would meet guys and ask them about just their story generally, with a focus on their professional growth and all that. And then I would write a story about it. That website disappeared. Somebody stole it from me. But right now we have started a videography, because for me mentorship is very key, and it's a never-ending process. The third thing they look at is teamwork and professional courtesy with colleagues. So one day you might be rude to someone, and then they are asked whether this is a person who we can give this award to. Some of us, and we have had to learn the hard way, like to work on briefs alone. So at some point you need to open up and see how you can work faster with groups. And that is one of the areas that is tested as well. The third one is client care, client satisfaction, and the quality of your legal practice. And some of the questions here are how fast you respond to emails or queries from your clients. How often do you update or communicate with your clients about their matters? I think there are people who are currently at the disciplinary the disciplinary tribunal for not responding to their clients for years and years. So I think the awards wanted, the people who came up with the award wanted to reward the people who are picking up the practice of communicating more frequently to their clients. And I have had the benefit of working in firms where as soon as you have a meeting, you have to email your client and tell them your way forward, or just capture what has been discussed. And I'm sure if I was doing litigation, maybe that was also one of the things I would have to do, maybe after court. The other is, how do you bill your clients? So I understand there are firms where clients are still billed orally. I don't know what that means, but do you have, they check whether you have a system where clients are officially invoiced and such invoices are kept. And we will look at it. We'll look at this later for people who are in firms where this is not happening, we will look at how you can be a champion and how it can impact on your application. The other thing they look at is your social responsibility and pro bono engagement. And I'm happy that one of the speakers, I think, won the pro bono lawyer of the year at some point. What this section looks at is how have you engaged in pro bono work. And for some of us who are not in litigation, there's a misconception that pro bono work has to be court work. There are so many other things that you can assist people with, such as business setups. Like if you have friends who have a chama and they want to regularize their business through a recognized vehicle, if you assist them without charging them what you're required to charge, then that's pro bono work. You can give a legal opinion. You can update clients on new laws. This involves a lot of review and a lot of research, and it is unpaid. But in my opinion, it's a good pro bono work stream. The next thing is innovation. And just to demystify innovation, you don't need a patent to be considered to have been innovative. Just making work easier in your firm can be innovative. I think over time we have come across people who come up with like work management tools, and it's very easy, just an Excel sheet where you write everything that's coming, the status and all those things, and then you follow up on what needs to be done. Some have come up with an internal bill tracking tool. I know we have the bill tracker by Parliament, but sometimes it might not capture the spirit of a firm or a department. So if you're in the corporate department, then you need to be looking at laws along that line. And if you come up with a bill tracking tool that just shows what is coming in, when it will be coming, when it will be implemented, and how it will impact on your client's business, then that's also innovation. So now we look. Let me look at the compliance requirements. Of course, the first one is you are required to be tax compliant, and what you will be required to provide there is a tax compliance certificate. They ask you whether you're up to date with the HELB and SSF and NHIF payments. Sometimes you may be required to provide a compliance certificate. And the others include whether you're a member of LSK. Of course, it's an award for lawyers, so this is one of the requirements. They might ask you whether you have had a suit filed against you, maybe in the last 3 years, whether you have a disciplinary issue at the tribunal as well. These I consider bonus points. So you have to show how you have contributed to the reputation of lawyers in the profession. So, and the way you show this is, again, it doesn't need to be rocket science. So we have had, there are people who are considered mental health champions. So this is one of the ways you might separate yourself from the rest. Personally, I used to write a lot, I still do, and I consider that a contribution to the reputation of lawyers, because I try to focus on the impact of laws on businesses, and my writings are mostly read by business people and lawyers. And so you might also be playing a sport. Maybe you represented Kenya to the Olympics and you are carrying the legal banner high. And the next one is individual involvement and contribution in programs by the LSK or the LSK Nairobi branch. Again, this doesn't need to be so out of your way. Could be your contribution to the proposed legislation. Every now and then, LSK usually sends a request for comments on proposed bills and such kind of things. Some firms take their time, some individuals take their time to look at them and give their comments. At some point before COVID, I think LSK used to is to champion a lot of social activities such as quiz nights and all that. And you might also be a member of a committee or a task force. So those are just bonus points for you. And then in a nutshell, you should be able to answer why you think you're the most qualified person to take the award. And this is a tell us about yourself question that you face in almost all interviews. So you need to be very clear and concise as to why you think out of all the applicants, you're the person who is the most qualified. And lastly, there is a requirement for references. 2 references are for colleagues who can objectively assess your suitability for the award. So people you work with who know you. And the other 2 are professional references, which are advocates who have been in practice for at least 5 years. So this might be people you work under, people you worked under before. And what these people do is that they have to give 2 of your strengths and 2 of your weaknesses. Yeah, that's it. So in terms of the process, it starts with a nomination. And after the nomination, you're sent to a form to fill, and the form will capture in depth what we have discussed or what I have pointed out. So if you're planning to apply, then you need to start polishing up your strengths, as I have highlighted. There is usually after you submit the form, there is usually a part where you meet a panel who you will just take through your application. So I think they want to check the veracity of it. They ask some questions here and there. They want to know how you communicate, such kind of things. Last but not least, I want to just highlight what the award means for people who have gotten it. So the first one was by a gentleman called Ribi Nondwari. I think now he's a partner at Ashtiva. The second one was me, and then the third one is a lady who works at Triple OK. Hopefully you will invite her to one of the series as you proceed. But what the award does for you is, let me look at it personally. It's a rubber stamp of your hard work and your excellence. It's a part of your back. It boosts your confidence, and it's also an opportunity to inspire your peers and people who are below you. It increases your social network, of course. For such events as this, I've been invited because I won the award. And the last word, I think this is a joke. I wrote it as a joke. I hope you will laugh. Is that you get a plaque. So you don't have to tell your kids that you are always first in class. You can just show them that you got an award for being an exemplary young lawyer. Professionally, for employees, it becomes a tool you can use when you're looking for work. It's a discussion point. I'm sure when you go for interviews, they usually ask you what else, other than these flowery grades and all those things. What else are you about? And it becomes a talking point. When you decide to be self-employed like me, it makes it's a pro when I'm pitching for work. So if I can show people that I was the young lawyer of the year, it makes my pitches easier. In terms of mentorship, of course, you will carry the weight. You have heard all through, I've been talking about mentorship and what the award means and what will be required of you in terms of the questions you will be asked. Mentorship is very key to all this platform, to this award, that is. So it comes with a lot of responsibility. You need to show up when there are speaking opportunities. You'll be called by people who want to apply in subsequent years. They just ask you for your insights, such kind of thing. So it's both a responsibility and a personal award. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Johnson. for giving us the criteria of earning that coveted Young Lawyer of the Year award. As Johnson mentioned, there have only been 3 winners in the past. Johnson was the second in 2019. And of the 3, only 1 is a lady in 2020. And therefore, I am challenging those young lawyers who are in attendance today, having had the criteria and what is required of you, maybe you might want to throw in your name for nomination, and let's see if you win it, particularly for the ladies. As I said, there's only 1 lady so far on that list of the coveted awardees. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I am now moving on to the plenary session. If you have a question, please type it out in the chat section and we shall direct it to the relevant speaker. Unfortunately, Heshimiwa Honorable Kasanga has left us. She had other commitments, although we are quite grateful for the time that she gave us and the insightful presentation she made. So we have with us the 3 advocates, Senior Counsel John Chigiti, Eunice Lumallas, and Johnson Kariuki. If you have any questions for these 3, please type it out in the chat section and we will be sure to direct it to the right speaker. As I am waiting for the questions to be typed out, I want to ask a question or to direct a question to Senior Counsel and to Eunice Lumallas. So far, the presentations we've had today have picked out one very important issue, which is the fact that our professions are extremely demanding. We have a lot of pressure, whether it is from the society that expects us to be driving flashy cars and wearing extremely expensive suits, living in the right area codes. And we know that on the ground, we do need different. And we have, as Eunice Lumallas said, how do we then bridge this dichotomy between the reality and what society perceives of our profession? How do we deal with the pressure from society? Let's start with Senior Counsel Chigiti.
Thank you very much, Helen, for that observation. Most of the time, that conversation is driven by peer pressure. So you must ask yourself, when you go back home, who are you? Be guided by that entry. And for you young people, the younger generation, always remember that you have a lot of time in your hands. Don't rush anything. Assess a pace which you can manage and leave that pace. The fact that you see your colleague, your peer, driving the latest BMW in town does not mean that if you don't drive one, you'll die. No. If your capacity, your ability is that which belongs to a border ride, please embrace it. That's where you belong. And with time, you'll realize all these things, nice house, a nice car, well-dressed person, flashy office, everything, it will just come. Don't rush it. Don't be cornered by your peers. Take your time. Don't eat your clients' money. Save well. Take care of your mental health issues. And ultimately, you'll get there. The best is when you struggle for it. Don't compare yourself with somebody else. You don't know their background well. You don't know how they have acquired all that wealth. You are accountable to your journey. You're accountable to who you are. And you are who you are, and you're the best. You're the best in the state that you find yourself in. You cannot live in somebody else's status. Thank you.
Thank you, Senior Counsel. So slow and steady wins the race. Eunice Lumallas?
Well, my contribution is that increasingly as you become older, you must embrace yourself, you know. I think your light starts shining when you're able to completely accept yourself, embrace who you are, and be at peace with it. Don't give in to pressure at all, no matter what. Do not give in to pressure, whatever pressure, to be like someone or you're not, because you are never created to be someone else, and you can only shine as bright as you can if you're yourself. So don't give in to pressure to be even a person of bad manners, because I have to tell it the way it is. We have some senior counsel who expose very bad manners to our young lawyers on social media using bad language. This profession, to me, remains a very noble profession, and we must carry ourselves with the nobility that is expected of us. Law societies across the countries often have put in place measures to have their lawyers access mental health support, because none of us is immune from mental illness. You know, when we say we need to have a free mental illness, free healthcare, nobody foresees the situation of, for example, going to hospital and seeking the emergency treatment for mental health. In fact, people think that lawyers are immune from that, and yet we are not. I think as lawyers, whatever you are, a prosecutor, even judges, basically being in the legal profession, sometimes you are exposed to very graphic images, those who deal with criminal matters, and like I've said, some of those who deal with family matters and others as well, even land cases, you know, you're exposed to very gruesome situations that require you to have an avenue to vent out. And you also need a good working environment. And so I'm looking at the Law Society of Kenya resurrecting, because where we are is a very bad place. These council members, leadership of the Law Society have really put us to shame, but all is not lost. We must not give up hope, because where we are going and the issues we have seen, depression due to perhaps traditional declining sources of income, require us to be innovative in thinking in terms of how am I going to make my business move to the next level, to survive and to thrive and to inspire. What will make me get there? We need a strong law society that can allow us to even access mental health on an anonymous basis. I've seen in countries like Canada, several law societies enable their lawyers to call anonymously, and they're able to speak to counselors on any issue. You know, if you pay someone 1,000 bob, for example, 2,000, if you get into a contract with them, they're able to help a lot of us by hearing our issues and talking us through. And by the time you're out of there, because everybody outcomes I expect from this forum, that we are looking at enabling our society to put in place measures to have lawyers access mental health support. And it happens, you know. So I think we must not give in to pressure. We must walk our journey, and we must believe in a successful result. Being successful is not the goal. You don't set out, oh, I'm going to be successful. No. It's a journey. So you're walking, and your character is going to be very key in terms of achieving that success. So I think for me, that's what I can contribute to that discourse.
Thank you very much, Eunice. Just to write on her comments, I'd like to remind participants that the LSK Nairobi branch is actually in partnership with the Chiromo Mental Health Hospital that has offered to give counseling to our members at discounted rates. So take advantage of that partnership as well. It might help you or one of your colleagues. Now there's a question.
Allow me just congratulate you right there for that. Thank you so much. We thank God that we have the Law Society of Nairobi taking up a lot of the roles and supporting Nairobi lawyers. You are actually leading and others are following. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Eunice. We are grateful for those remarks. So Senior Counsel Chigiti mentioned that lawyers need to seek help from family peers. How can we, employers, colleagues, friends, and partners, support young lawyers with mental health disorders? What is our role in preventing them from getting to unmanageable levels? Senior Counsel?
Thank you very much. Like we said, you have to take care of yourself. It all begins with you. However, we must appreciate that by the nature of this challenge, mental health, the people who are in need of the support structures do not even appreciate or understand or know that they are in need. Many a times, and it's during these times that your friends abandon you, your colleagues become your worst enemies. It is during this time that these people who are our colleagues need us most. So out here as colleagues, we must keep in touch with each other. So that then what do? We need to watch out for those symptoms, those signs, those signals that manifest and tell us that indeed something is going wrong. And we must, for instance, understand that these people's language changes. Many of them turn to drink or substance. Many of them start posting very ununderstandable content on social media. They cannot sustain dialogue. So we cannot say that we do not know that these are people who are in need. And we cannot shy away because ultimately, a single rotten apple in the basket of the society is going to put us in a very bad footing. So reach out to your colleagues. If you see them going that way, find a way, reach out to them, ask them how you can be of help to them. Sometimes even talking to them, a telephone call, a visit, makes them feel that they are worth something. And many a times you can also be the person who is going to help refer them to the professional services that we have just heard about. Many a times you might be the one who will signal another colleague and tell them, hey, do you know so and so? Probably they need our help. So we will not shy away. We must call it a problem that belongs to all of us, not only as the bar members, but we remember our preamble to the Constitution tells us that we have a duty to nurture the individual, a duty to nurture the family, and a duty to nurture the whole community so that ultimately we are saying we have a good nation, Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, Senior Counsel. So as Senior Counsel has said, it's our duty to reach out to anyone and everyone that we can see is in need. Now, the next question, I would like you will allow me to exercise a bit of ageism here. This question says, please advise us on how to deal with pressure during pupillage, a point in your career when you seem not to know what is going on professionally. Sometimes you doubt your competence. I want to direct this question to Johnson, Kariuki, and Eunice Lumallas, and leave out Senior Counsel. On the basis of ageism, I know we're not supposed to discriminate, but I'm sure our Senior Counsel will appreciate that it's been very long since he was a pupil. So let's start with Johnson.
All right. Thanks again. I think, as you have rightly mentioned, I was a pupil not a long time ago. And over time, I have come to develop a lot of friendships with a lot of people who had an array of experiences during pupillage. There are some who used to cook for their bosses, and there are others who used to do big transactions. So, and I've also increasingly I've come to see a lot of lawyers crucifying these young guys who are joining Pupillage, even on Twitter. I don't know what is usually the intention of such behavior, but I hope we can become more nurturing and we can mentor these young lawyers who are joining the profession. But I see the advice is being sought from a personal perspective in terms of the person who has asked that question. And the question I would want to ask here is, what really should be the output of a pupil other than to try the best they can with what they have? I remember when I left law school and joined employment, we used to have a rule, the IRAC rule of writing legal opinions. And I at one point was given a very elaborate opinion to write. And when I was done, I was told the best answer you can give a client is a 1-paragraph WhatsApp message. Of course, it was intended to show me how deliberate I should be at communicating. So there's what you have been taught in school, and there's what you need to apply when you leave school. We have seen many people or many law firms where you have to go through several departments. And I think your intention should be to learn as much as you can. Of course, you might feel as if you don't have the competence, and you should be patient with yourself to get the competence with time. But ideally, the intention of being a pupil is just to learn as much as you can. So I would understand that somebody would feel the doubts, like they might feel they are not competent enough in the various assignments they're given. But as long as the next time you're given that assignment, you do it better, then you're learning. I can tell you in our first year, not many of us were given a single transaction to run with from the beginning to the end. And it's because we needed that time, we needed to be patient with ourselves, we needed to apply ourselves to very minor but very beneficial concepts, including negotiating and such kind of things. So to answer the question, I would say if you're a pupil, of course, the first time you make a mistake, you feel as if the world is coming to an end. But our seniors can tell you they make mistakes every day. They've just found a better way of dealing with them. So just be patient with yourself. If you need to learn something, put as much time as you can. If you need to redo something that you feel is important in your career, just keep redoing it. And over time, you will start becoming more confident in yourself and feeling this competence, getting into the way you do your things.
Thank you, Joseph. Eunice?
Honestly speaking, that question has taken me back to the time when I was a pupil, and it has really touched me. It's a question from a very honest point, and I can feel that, because you can imagine, and that's really the situation. You can get to a place where you doubt yourself and you doubt your competence. What I can tell you is that you are a pupil because you're there to learn. And so you must have that at the back of your mind. You're there to learn, and it's normal to be uncomfortable, but you need to feel comfortable in that space. I remember as a pupil once, and I felt that, I take some work back to my senior, and I remember him crisscrossing it with a red pen, and he would love that. And he said, "Madam, this is utter nonsense." And I felt like walking out of his office, because sometimes you have this view of yourself before then as someone who knows too much, you believe you're good. Then you go there and someone just makes you feel like there's nothing you know. How do you handle that? You must take advantage of being a pupil to learn as much as possible. And it's not just about learning to draft and doing research. You have to read widely, but also improve your social skills. Okay, what is your attitude when you're being told, madam, sit down, like I was told? Where do you think you're going? Because I was ready to leave his office as he, you know, he almost tore whatever I had done, and I was nearly leaving, and you know, the professor now told me, sit down, where are you going? And then I have to realize you have to have a humble spirit and attitude to learn, you know, because you can learn, you can lose that and spoil very great potential. It must be a wholesome thing of not just educational skills, but social skills. One time I'm leaving the office going to court with one advocate, and we are at the basement, and suddenly the lift goes, you know, is closing, and we are in there with this senior advocate, and he tries to hold you or grab you in an appropriate manner. What do you do as a pupil? Do you give in to that pressure because he's your senior and wants to, you know, to do something inappropriate with you? No. That happened to me. What did I do? I pushed him on the side. I said, hey, I don't think that's right. Why don't we go and have a drink first, so that at least it feels a bit more romantic? Let's go have a drink, and after that we see where that will take us. How you handle generally your various relationships is very, very important. That's why in my view you have to build strong mental aptitude. You know, if you're strong mentally, then you're able to handle every situation that comes your way. So have a humble attitude to learn, and have a good attitude if you're being corrected. Don't, I don't know what else to say, but also be firm. Be firm, believe in yourself and in your abilities. It doesn't matter how you became a lawyer, how you ended up being where you are. I remember my former boss always used to say, some of these people are here because their parents have forced them to go to law school. It doesn't matter how you've become a lawyer. You are where you are because you're where you are. If it means looking at yourself the way some motivational speakers say, look at yourself in the mirror every morning and remind yourself who you are, then you must remind yourself who you are, and you must remind yourself how great you are, how competent you are. Everybody makes mistakes, you see. I have learned from my son to always say, hey, I'm sorry, I've also made a mistake. None of us is perfect. And so it's a learning process. Manage yourself, have a good attitude, and learn as much as you can. That's all I can say.
Thank you very much, Eunice. The next question is actually to you, but I will give you a moment to catch your breath and proceed to read this remark by Caroline Hasoa. She says, I wish to quote the late Senior Okwach, that success in the legal profession comes from both biological, time, age, and professional age. As Eunice and Senior Counsel Chigiti state, that move at your pace, and slowly but surely you will remain truly professional, you will succeed. I can see you have suggested that we need an MOU with the Counseling Society for Advocates to call in anonymously. As I had mentioned, we do have an MOU with the Chiromo Mental Health Hospital, and the counselors there are actually members of the Counseling Society. In terms of your second suggestion, which is it possible for Nairobi LSK to set up a conflict resolution desk to help professionals report inter-colleague disputes? We do actually have this. It's been there since 2018. So we do have internal dispute resolution for colleagues, whereby advocates with disputes against another advocate can report the matter and it can be resolved. I think in the past we have resolved about six or eight disputes in the last 2 years. Of course, last year, because of the COVID issue, there was a bit of a downtime when it came to that committee, but it is there. So the next question, Eunice, I hope you're ready. Eunice mentioned that advocates should reach out to people in the profession. What if they are the ones contributing to mental illness through stress and pressure? What about pressure to work for multinational law firms, as this is seen as the pinnacle of success? Eunice?
Well, thank you for that question. I think one must also mention that growth and wellness is not just physical, it's mental. That's what we're talking about, but also spiritual. And when you're talking about spiritual, there's a movie which is known as The Pilgrim's Progress. Okay, so this pilgrim sets out for a journey. It's a very remarkable story, and it's also in a book. And that's what we set out in a journey when we are young lawyers and we are moving to that journey. You must set your goal. Where is it that you want to go? You know, people no longer take time to meditate and think through about where they want to go. Set out on a journey and make it like a goal, you know. How do you see where you're going? What do you want to see at the end of the day? And once you do that, you will be able to pick out distractions along the way, because there will be distractions. Some of the distractions can come like what the person asking the question is saying, you know, the colleagues are the ones giving you the stress. Those are distractions along the way. Or what is it? What did she say? Colleagues and fellow employees. Let me just check. They're the ones. Mental illness is through stress and pressure. Yes, so you expect that our work can be very stressful sometimes and have a lot of pressure. Now, if you're able to be very deliberate about this is where I want to go, and then setting aside time to manage pressure and stress. And there are various ways in which we can do this. One of the ways we have been told is we have to set aside time to exercise. Okay, so that no matter what happens, you tell yourself, I'll wake up at 5, I'll sleep early so that at least I have 6 hours of sleep. I'll wake up early, I'll meditate during that time, and I will work out, you see? So that would be one way of easing pressure and allowing yourself to be proactive about your day and the pressures ahead. You need to be proactive. There's a book that my son bought me this year for New Year's, which is called Eat That Frog. How do you deal with tasks, and which ones should you start with first? Perhaps the most complicated, you dissect it, and you start with that, and you prepare yourself mentally to certain work. And if possible, you'll be able to reduce your stress. If your environment is not changing and you are open about your source of stress, open up communication channels with the people you work with, and be open. If something is not working for you, look elsewhere so that you don't compromise your health. Because a lot of stress can cause you illness, will cause you blood pressure, will cause you ulcers, and you should be able to avoid that. What about pressure to work for multinational law firms? It's possible to work for multinational law firms. If that is your goal, and that indeed is your goal, you look for it, put the word out there, and you shouldn't feel pressured just because it's a multinational company. You'll be surprised you are the ones you are going to actually run a multinational company yourself one day. See, sometimes you say, sometimes if they don't open the door for you, you can purchase the door yourself. So it's possible to work for a multinational company. You seek it. And you build the relevant networks along the way. It's possible to work for one, either here in the country or out there. It's possible. So keep working, I guess, and it's possible to do it.
Thank you. I like that saying, if they do not open the door for you, buy the door yourself. We have one question here for Senior Counsel. How does one tackle gossip, a form of stigmatization, about mental illness in the legal profession? Senior Counsel?
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, gossip is just gossip. You can't take them to court per se. You go to the complaints platform under our system, you won't go far. So for me, the first way to tackle this kind of entry is to ignore it. You will realize Kenya is very rich when it comes to headlines. So you either choose to follow that gossip line or ignore it. If you ignore it, it might do the rounds for one day. Then we'll move to the next headline. Now, if you get to know who the fountain is or where the source is, probably find a way of either approaching that person. And for me, I always believe in diplomacy. Go and talk to them, ask them, why did you have to do this? Can we pull it down? Can you apologize? I mean, why did you have to do this? So if that fails, then just deal with it personally. Like I said earlier, close that chapter and move on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senior Counsel. Thank you, Caroline, for your comment. I can also see your hand up. I don't know if you want to say something or you have a question. Caroline Khasoa.
Yes. Can I comment something?
Yes, sure, proceed.
Thank you. Thank you for this timely webinar. I think it's a very important topic, and it is also a topic which is close to my heart because I'm one of those advocates who has voiced the need for the legal profession for us to structurally deal with mental health, because I have a close family member who is an advocate who is dealing with a mental health issue. And in the last 4 years, it has really deteriorated. So what I can add to the conversation, which is already well done, is that number one, most people who have mental health issues do not know that they are unwell. Number two, their family members and close people do not also know that they are unwell. So that at times, looking for the telltale signs that Senior Chigiti was talking about, people starting to retreat, people posting strange things. If you are an advocate and that is a close friend, reach out. When you attend counseling sessions, mental therapy sessions, you are encouraged that when the depressed person pushes you away, do not leave, because that might be the tipping point between this person even committing suicide and saving their lives. And what I can say from what I've seen practically is that mental health is treatable as long as you get the right intervention and at the right time. Then what I can also add to the person who talked about gossip, I can say that gossip is a form of bullying. And bullying is actually an illegal thing. It can be legal under the Penal Code. It can be legal under the Cybercrime Act.
Mr. Terer, please mute.
Okay. Okay, I was just winding up. Yes, it's a form of bullying. What I was saying, it's a form of bullying. And if it is too much that one cannot handle, then my suggestion is that it should be handled like any form of crime. Some of us were lucky to be trained by people like Nancy Baraza, Judith Ongori, me, Eunice, Gertrude. We also owe our personalities to the training we got in FIDA. If we can continue with this mentorship and teach people how to resist bullying, it can also really help. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senior. I don't see any other questions in the chat box. And so because we have 8 minutes to go, I would like to give this opportunity to the 3 speakers particularly because they were nominated and won at various Nairobi Legal Award ceremonies to give us some insight, their experiences, and just a parting shot for those who are looking forward to being nominated and to winning in this year's edition of the Nairobi Legal Awards. I'm going to start with Johnson and then Eunice, and then we shall conclude with Senior Counsel. Johnson?
Thanks again for this opportunity. I think I highlighted a lot of my experiences in my presentation, but what I would like to tell the young people who intend to apply for the Young Lawyer of the Year award is that you should not think of it as something that you really have to win. You can also think of it as something you can do to learn more about yourself and to look at areas where you need to improve. As we said, they test a lot of areas, and going through the process, you will see parts in your life where you're lacking balance in terms of your practice. You might find out that you have a lot of capacity to give back to society, whether or not you're a pupil or a person who's been in practice for 1 or 2, 3 years. You might end up seeing some opportunities where you would bring more value to whether it's your employer or even in future in the practices that you set. If you intend to do that at some point, you'll also see areas that you can be innovative and find solutions to what people call tiny problems, but taken together they become a big problem. I wish you all the best. I'm very accessible on social media, or you can go to JP Advocates LLP and get my email from there. And I can be able to give you a lot more focused insight if you need it in regard to the application.
Thank you very much, Johnson. I'm sure you'll be receiving very many emails with people who want more Kenyans on how to be the Young Lawyer of the Year awardee. Next, Eunice Lumallas, your experiences.
For me, what I can say is I thank all of our participants. I thank you also for putting this together. I would just like to encourage everybody, any young lawyer present, even older lawyers, that we must keep the commitment to our profession. Be the best you can be, start with where you are in terms of what you can do in terms of contribution. Look around you. Have you done everything you possibly can? Because at the end of the day, whether we like it or not, we are going to die at some point. You should be able to die feeling that you've really extended yourself and given of yourself. Start with your surrounding, your place of work. Is there someone in need of your shoulder to lean on? Is there someone in need of your time to listen to empathize with? Start with your surroundings. That is also giving back, and also think about where we've all come from. I can see from the names of the participants, we come from all over the country. Could you go back to your home and look at the status of the law and the profession? Are you giving to the society? Because I believe that's one of the requirements. Are you looking at the needs of the marginalized, of those who are handicapped, of the disabled? Are you alive to what is around you? Are you talking to the younger students, encouraging them to be lawyers? Please go back to where you come from. If you can offer legal advice, if you can direct someone to get help from someone that is also giving back to the society. And then, are you satisfied with what you are? I know being called Mr., just to pick anyone, Mr. Kamweti, Mr. Mwoki, Mr. Wesonga may be a good thing, but is that enough? What is stopping you from being professor, from being doctor? You know, that actually expands your horizon in terms of opportunities. Go ahead and do that doctorate and do that professorship and be called Professor so-and-so. Why not? So keep chasing excellence in everything that you do. Publish. Okay, you want to be excellent in intellectual property, for example. How will anybody know that you're excellent in intellectual property? Please do not sleep. When you're young, the way you are, this is a time to make your name, and do not be cheated. Having a good name is exemplary. Having a great reputation will lead you to places that you never thought you could reach. So continue to be committed to having a good name. Write about data protection, write about death penalty, if that's your area, and publish, put online, let people know that you are there. Sometimes if you're not seen, then you don't exist, unfortunately. Make sure you're out there doing the things that you like to do. So publish, and if you're older in the profession like myself and Senior Counsel Chigiti, let us give back. You know, even the Bible says older women teach the younger women what you know. So let's give back to society, let's mentor. And those who have tried to reach out, don't give up. You know, sometimes as you get older, you realize the time that you have is very limited. And so if someone requires mentorship from you, it's important that they don't give up. I remember when I went for I was looking for pupillage, and I went to Dalian Figgis, company advocates, and I was interviewed by Monari. I think I was pathetic at that interview because some of the things I said is, you know, I already have a scholarship to go so-and-so, and I've been offered a place at Mohammed and Muigai Advocates. Who does that? I was completely silly. So I went back home. I really thought, oh my God, they're paying 15,000 at Mohammed. They're paying 10,000. What did I do? So I sent him an email and told, hey, Senior Monari, this is Eunice. I was at your place earlier today. I think what I said was completely rubbish. Could you disregard that? And I'm really keen to come to your law firm. Of course, he ended up laughing. And since then, they didn't call me there, but we've become friends to date. So your relationships, your connections, very important. Keep building them and learn to resolve your disputes without necessarily fighting. I've seen lawyers fighting over clients on social media. Please, that is bad manners. Don't always resort to fighting. Learn good ways to resolve your disputes and you'll be more at peace, and that peace will enable you to reach your goals faster. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Eunice. Let's finish with Senior Counsel John Chigiti.
Thank you very, very much. When it comes to the award, to me, it created a ticket that gave me a lot of inspiration. It motivates you, makes you see your worth. So all of you out there, think about it. It's a way of telling you that indeed this is your worth. It will give you a lot of inspiration. It will make you very motivated in what you do. Like you heard, the criteria is tight. By the time you reach there, you will definitely sit back and say, yes, indeed, it was worth it. Then you must ask yourself, who is the LSK? Nairobi chapter. It's a creation that is propelling itself places. How are you going to support this culture of awards? You're going to support that framework, that culture, that nascent conversation by participating. And let me tell you, good people, it's not only winning that motivates. Even participating in the race adds value, sharpens you, makes you feel that you could have done better. So ultimately, what is happening? You're making a platform where there'll be competition. Without your participation in this award journey, the competition will not be there. There'll be no award. Ultimately, if you look at it from the access to justice perspective, we shall be denying somebody that motivation and denying Wanjiko access to justice. And I had my fellow colleague, Eunice, talk about something that I had underlined. I wish I was told to do publications when I was young like you, if you're young here. Please pick that up. You have some knowledge, you have a space, you have an entry where you're good at. Technology is here. Harness that space. Do some publication. You will realize that when you grow older, probably you want to apply for a position as a judge. You'll be asked a couple of questions. You might be very good in all the other spaces, but if you have no publication, no book, you have no record of what you have done pro bono, access to justice, talk to me, you'll see the results. And finally, the award offers some form of mentorship. We need mentorship. So as we participate in this conversation, let us remember that we learn through this journey. We get mentored. We mentor through interaction with this culture of the award that has been generated and placed at our doorsteps by the Law Society Nairobi chapter. And then, finally, we have an activity, a program where we are doing mentorship, known as the Advanced Mentorship Counseling and Mediation Services Limited. Join us, let's dialogue, let's continue. You will realize we are all complementing, like you heard about counseling, like we are hearing about the award, like we are hearing about dispute resolution. We are all sharpening each other. Don't deny yourself an opportunity to be better than you are. Thank you very much, Law Society, for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you. So you've heard it from our speakers today. On behalf of Honorable Kasanga, who said, please get involved. Look at the bills, look at the policies. Let's be involved in this discussion on mental health. You heard from Johnson. The awards are a yardstick for you to measure your own assessment. So you'll be able to gauge where are you in this journey and what do you need to work on. Eunice said, think of what you have done. Have you done everything that you could possibly have done? Start with your immediate surroundings and expand your horizon. Keep chasing excellence. And finally, we had Senior Counsel John Chigiti telling us the awards do motivate you. They help you to see your worth. They help to sharpen you. And so with that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to remind you that this is the beginning of the journey towards the Nairobi Legal Awards 2021 edition. We will soon be opening up for nominations for the awards, various categories. It's not just limited to practice. We actually have across the range. We have from practice to corporate to public service. So please feel free to throw in your nomination. And if you're too shy to nominate yourself, then you can whisper to one of your friends that you would appreciate if they nominated you. Please do not miss out on this journey. And if red carpets are what excites you, I can assure you that the award ceremony is a red carpet event. So you do want to be there and you do want to be an awardee, or at least standing on that podium saying, I made it to the end. So with that, I would like to thank our speakers today for their time. You will agree with me that they have really shed a lot of light on the topic that we had today, which is balancing mental health and excellence in our profession. I would like to thank the participants. At some point, I think we hit 110. Thank you very much for making time this afternoon to attend this webinar, and look out for the nomination. When we open it, we will let you know. Look out for all the other activities that we have. Please ensure that you take advantage of the partnership that we have with the Chiromo Mental Health Hospital and the partnership that we have, and the committee that is established by the branch for internal dispute resolution. Please, 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 this branch is here for you. It is your branch, it is your home. Take advantage of the opportunities. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is cold. Let us go home and keep warm. Have a good evening.